Welcome to the visual presentation Mastering the Master Schedule, presented by Brandy M. Love for Dr. Derek Robinson, under the guise of Leadership 7210 Summer Field Experiences. Who am I? I'm a 16-year veteran educator. I'm a member of the union, United Education Association. I serve on the board of directors in the position of high school at large and the committee co-chair for the UEA Human Relations Committee. UEA is a member of the National Council of Urban Education Association, which also makes Tennessee a part of TUIAC, the Tennessee Urban Education Association Council, of which I was newly elected secretary. For Shelby County Schools, for the past 3 years, I have been a part of the Curriculum and Instruction's Social Studies Fellows. In addition to that, I serve on the Shelby County Schools Summer School District Curriculum Writing Team. I'm also currently a member of the Tennessee Council for Social Studies Board of Directors and a current National Council for Social Studies Recruitment and Membership Team. In 2015, I had the great honor of being one of 30 educators selected nationwide to become a Korean educator participant sponsored by the Foreign Research Policy Institute, which actually landed me a trip to Asia. In 2016, I was selected and served as the Middle Tennessee Teacher in Residence. In 2018, I was one of 45 educators selected nationally to become a World War I History Institute participant. And in addition to that, I've also served in the last 5 years as a DoD presenter for the Social Studies Department for the Shelby County Schools District. I'm, I'm currently the announcer for Shelby County Schools Debate. I am a 4-year project graduation educator and a member of the 2019 Summer Project Graduation Planning Team. In addition to that, under TEA, I am a member of the Teacher Leader Network, a 2018 member of the State of Tennessee Social Studies Textbook Review Committee, a 2019 member of the Shelby County Schools Social Studies Textbook Review Committee, and a current Shelby County Schools. Enough about me. We have been under the leadership, advisement, and guidance of Dr. Derek Robinson, who served as our program lead and advisor. We've also been taught and instructed by Dr. Reginald Green, Dr. Stephen Nelson, Dr. Eli Jones, and mentor James Alexander. What is a schedule? As defined by Webster's Dictionary, it's a schedule, it's a written list, it's an agenda, it's a written document. A plan in hand. Why the master schedule? Dr. Robinson stated and stressed to us that as a newly beginning administrator, one of the things that you should walk into the door of your new school with is a plan in hand to show your administrative staff and your new school staff that you have something to offer, a plan in hand. You ask why the master schedule? It affects the entire school population. It addresses student achievement. It provides a clearly defined line of data collection. In addition to that, it addresses all aspects of the Tennessee Instructional Leadership Standards, in that instructional leadership is a focus. The culture of teaching and learning is automatically embedded as we have a group of collaborators versus just one person. Professional learning and growth is adamant for our teachers because, again, we're all in this together. In addition to that, proper resource management, making sure that we maximize the full benefit of that master schedule. One of the things that teachers, students, parents, and administrators have in common is a schedule. With that, it's important that the master schedule be purposeful, impactful, and offers the largest amount of benefits to all parties involved. With that said, your master schedule must consider student requests, teacher wants, and administrative needs. Now, the data to support my survey. Where did I start? According to the United States Department of Education, the amount of absenteeism is highest amongst high school students. At least 30% of students are reported chronically absent. According to Wallstrom, substantial increases in first period grade point averages went up in English, math, social studies, and science when schools started between 8 and 8:35 in the state of Wyoming. In addition to that, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that middle and high school students delay the start of classes to 8:30 or later. Doing so will align school schedules to the biological sleep rhythms of adolescents whose sleep-wake cycles begin to shift 2 hours after puberty. So again, by advocating for later school start times for middle and high school students, The AAP is also promoting and compelling scientific evidence. Scientific evidence. In addition to that, the cost analysis benefit could be as much as 9 times larger than the cost to actually implement this. I know sometimes there can be a change, a major change, and a shift in budgeting when you talk about a major increase, such as delaying school start time. However, it could impact and add $83 billion to the U.S. economy over the next decade. In addition to this fact, when students feel like they're heard, when adults actually demonstrate care, it also pushes and motivates the students to do better. When high school students begin classes after 8:30, the research demonstrates fewer absences, fewer instances of tardies, and better grades in first period. Washam also goes on to suggest that teenage brains are not fully functioning at 8 a.m. This is something else that should be thought of when you're dealing with secondary students. The American Medical Association has adopted a policy to encourage reasonable start times that allow older students to get sufficient sleep. This new policy calls on school districts across the U.S. to implement middle and high school start times no earlier than 8:30. According to the American Medical Association, sleep deprivation is a growing public health issue affecting our nation's adolescents and putting them at risk for mental, physical, and emotional distress and disorders. The purpose of this study is to analyze the master schedule and how to maximize its impact within the school in an effort to increase overall student achievement, capitalize on educator output, and enhance the overall footprint of the school, be it academically, socially, or within the community. Now, in introducing this study, it's extremely important that the master schedule is created before the start of school. According to science, shifting school schedules after students have begun creates anxiety among students and parents. Why? Students have a feeling of disappointment. They feel like they've lost out on work and grades that they've already completed. In addition to that, they feel behind in the newly switched class. A detailed, well planned out master schedule should be the collaboration of multiple voices, not just one person's input in a back office. However, oftentimes this is just the case. Our method. How do we get to this? The overall goal of this study, again, is to determine the impact that the master schedule has on overall student achievement when all parties concerned are here. So therefore, we employed survey data, a focus group, and in-person interviews. Over the course of this survey, we'll work with a random population sample to create and facilitate and implement a multi-layered master schedule that allow us to address and maximize its impact on the school schedule and student achievement. Who are our participants? The participants involved in this study were students, educators, and administrators. We started with a teacher pool of 33 and asked them to participate in our survey focus group. Of the 33, 25 agreed to participate. Of that 25, the participants identified themselves as 68% African American, 16% Caucasian, 12% Hispanic American, and 4% Asian American, which equates to 17 African Americans, 4 Caucasians, 3 Hispanics, and 1 Asian participant. Now, when breaking this down by educator year of service, 8% had less than 2 years service, 4% had 3 to 5 years of classroom experience, 16% had 5 to 10 years of classroom service, a whopping 28% had 10 to 15 years of classroom experience, and the largest group, 44% of the teachers that I surveyed had 15 or more years of classroom survey experience. Again, just stating our educator research participants. Now, the student participants. Again, we say we identified students, educators, and administrators. This includes 2 principals, 1 assistant principal, and 2 higher ed administrators that were both former Shelby County Schools principals. In securing the students, a total of 100 students were selected at random. 10 students from my homeschool site, 50 students from my night school site, 20 students from a local unidentified high school, and 20 middle school students. Of the student survey participants, 100 surveys were released and a total of 39 returned. Within the group of 39, 27 were actually completed and returned and utilized for this survey. 5 students from the subgroup were actually selected for live student interviews. Of the student participants, 97% were African American and 3% Hispanic American, totaling 25 African American students and 2 Hispanic students. Our procedures. Again, we use 3 main research methods: paper survey, a small focus group, and several live in-person interviews. In order to protect participant confidentiality, they were informed ahead of time that the student survey and the educator survey would be used for research purposes. Therefore, they were given a sign and introduced with a consent letter before the very beginning of this project. Potential participants were informed that their participation in the survey will require no personal identifying information, that there will be no additional required contact after completing the original survey unless they chose to add something in addition. All participants, students, and educators were informed that that was all that was required was their frank and most honest responses. Our procedures. Questions were distributed among student population, such as what would be your dream student course load? Or what type classes would you like to be enrolled in? How long do you feel a class should be? And at what certain time do you feel that certain classes should be offered? And several other questions relating to these items. Now, due to time constraints and the population sample size, this study focuses on the impact of the school's master schedule, again, as it relates to the overall student success. The survey asked a total of 40 questions on various topics relating to the master schedule, such as demographic information, specific course offerings, traditional schedule versus block schedule, and school collaboration and school start and end times. For example, one question asks, what time do you believe high school students should start school? And ask students to list their top 3 choices versus giving a random answer and having them select. Another question asks participants which classes should be offered during first period: math, English, science, social studies, or electives. Both students and educators were asked the following question. If you had a choice, which class schedule would you prefer? 7 traditional 55-minute classes, 4 block 90-minute classes, or a combination of traditional and block schedules on a regular basis? Survey results plus a new vision equal a positive school community for students, teachers, parents, and administrators. What would I like for this plan to do? Over the course of the next 2 years, I would like to see SCS pledge to lead the state of Tennessee in overall improved student-educator-administrator relationships through the implementation of our new master schedule and collaboration plan. This initiative will reveal itself by ensuring that students, educators, and administrators are capable of performing productive, trust-based relationships grounded in mutual respect for the goal of creating a master schedule that is based on the needs of each particular school and formed in a sincere professional learning community that is grounded in impactful two-way communication. Let's look at our results. Key revelations in this study sought to recognize certain design patterns. However, it should be noted that these were not the only findings. One of the first patterns that we noted is that teachers and students alike agree that high school students should not start school before 8 a.m. However, most also agreed that 9 a.m. is too late to start. However, teachers and students would like to be leaving by 3:30. It was a unanimous agreement amongst teachers and students that 4 p.m. is too late in the day for dismissal. Another pattern that was observed here is that the majority of respondents acknowledged that the particular classes offered in first period slot are crucial to overall student success, considering that most absences and tardies occur at the start of the day. Continuing with results and discussions. Several students felt the actual time that certain classes appeared on the schedule can cause a problem. For example, 84% of the students surveyed stated they would never want math or science classes first period, with 42 agreeing and responding that core challenging classes should not be offered first period, as this is the time where the majority of students arrive late. Or, worse yet, some students are simply not fully alert yet. 64% of educators agreed with the students and said some students are still dragging during first period and therefore causing a pause in class. And this also tends to receive the majority of late students first period. Students stated they would like to welcome electives such as art, ACT prep, and different things of this nature during the first period course slot. Again, here educators and students agreed, where teachers stated that if they were allowed to create the master schedule, first period often includes classes such as AVID or electives such as band or public speaking. There will be no core math or science classes during the first period block so that if a student happens to miss a class or arrive late, they can easily be brought up to speed, where this may not be as easy in a math or science class. 73% of all educators and 86% of all student surveys stated that the only students that should be enrolled in core classes such as math or science during first period should be honor students, as they're typically better suited for the challenge that earlier in the day. Another pattern that emerged from this survey, teachers would like to be better informed and more involved in the decision-making process. 84% of teachers responded with option 4, giving us only a limited amount of information. Whereas when surveyed and asked by principals, the principal said they felt that they kept their staff fairly well informed, providing here a disconnect. Continuing with our results and discussions. When this question was asked among students again, there was a disconnect as most students feel that they're rarely informed or surveyed about major school initiatives. Student results yielded an astounding 78% of students felt that their school tend not to share information with students, and an overwhelming 97% of students stated they had never been asked their personal thoughts or opinions about the master schedule. However, just as astounding, 100% responded that given the opportunity, they would definitely want to provide their voice. As far as future research, as the author of this study, it must be noted that there were limitations. One major drawback is the size and the sample size of the actual participants. Shelby County Schools is comprised of over 100,000 students in more than 200 schools. Being the second largest employer in Memphis and the largest school district in Tennessee, our sample size does not adequately reflect all the thoughts and ideas and positive change that could be reviewed for a deeper analysis of our master scheduling. A wider population should be utilized in the future to further this research. In addition to that, in an effort to garner a clearer picture and a broader impact of the master schedule, there are two very important suggestions for the future. First, distributing the student survey throughout the entire district in an effort to create a stronger, more meaningful scheduling plan for middle and high school students. In addition to that, future research should also cast a wider net for in-person interviews or possibly implement a variety of focus groups to include more teachers, administrators, PLC coaches, instructional facilitators, school counselors, and students, all in an effort to identify a few more additional voices that should be considered in this process. My final recommendations: Shelby County Schools should invest time in the benefits of the suggested student time frames for the start of the school day. I know it can be costly. The initiative to create a committee of individuals to help develop that master schedule versus just one person in the office. Further review of daily class schedules for students with a focus on the actual timing of certain classes, not just first period. Math shouldn't be seventh period. Let's also think about that. Let's think about what happens right after lunch. And the implementation of the teacher collaboration plan. Now let me give this just about 2 quick minutes. The teacher collaboration plan would have our master schedule with the intent of creating a schedule that gives all core subjects the same planning time. For example, all English teachers, for example, would have first period planning so that they can collaborate. Here, also creating a data room where not just can they actually collaborate during the school day, but they can collaborate, collect, and continuously monitor student improvement. The references for our support research can be provided here and here. Thank you for watching the visual presentation by Brandy M. Love, Mastering the Master Schedule.